an author with a successful novel, a cake maker in our kitchen, and news of a new vaccine for cancer in America. All that's coming up, and I hope you'll stay tuned. We'll hear from Michael Morris about his latest book, and cake maker Judy Freeman standing by in the kitchen. But right now we'll take a look at consumer news across the nation. The National Cancer Institute is encouraged by a new vaccine development that has happened in America that may help head off the ailment. Here's what it's all about.
According to the National Cancer Institute, cancer is expected to become the leading cause of death in the United States within the next 5 years. However, science may soon be able to head off this looming epidemic with the first ever broad-spectrum cancer treatment. The treatment is a vaccine discovered and developed by Dr. Wilfred Jeffries and his team of researchers at GeneMax. The vaccine turns on the body's natural defenses against tumors using what are called TAP proteins. These are proteins within cells that are essential in processing the signals that the immune system uses to recognize and destroy cancerous cells. In many major cancers, however, the TAP pathway is blocked or turned off. Dr. Jeffries' vaccine aims at restoring the TAP protein, allowing the body cells to fight such commonly occurring conditions as breast, prostate, lung, liver, renal, and colorectal cancers. Because TAP deficiency tends to increase as the disease progresses, the vaccine is expected to be effective even against late-stage cancers. To learn more, visit www.genemax.com.
A recent survey shows that home baking is becoming more and more popular, and perhaps it may be because of the technology that offers good advice about baking, as we learn in this report.
If the aroma in your kitchen reminds you of those delicious pies Grandma used to make, you are not alone. Interest in baking is on the rise as people try to revive family traditions that evoke happy memories of days past. There are few things that beat the homemade goodness of fresh-baked pies, fruit-laden muffins, or cookies right from the oven. Baking as a family activity can be a lot of fun and very satisfying. It also can be easier than you think with some helpful advice, quality ingredients, and a few well-chosen tools, even for beginners. Like a friendly next-door neighbor, baking experts at King Arthur Flour Company have been offering baking advice for more than 200 years. They can give you secrets to sourdough, tricks for tender pie crusts, and hints to soft, chewy cookies. Families that want to make baking a tradition in their homes can find some of these secrets as well as ingredients, baking tips, and recipes by visiting www.kingarthurflour.com.
Well, it seems that across the world, more than 81,000 people die daily because of AIDS. However, the good news is the volunteering staffs are now on the increase. Here's more on the subject.
Somewhere in the world today, a child lost a parent to AIDS. A mother buried a son. A baby was laid to rest. More than 8,000 people die because of AIDS every day.
The sheer burden of the orphans and the widows that have been created because of the death of people with AIDS is an overwhelming problem for society.
One of the responses I often hear to a problem as big as AIDS is that it's too big, it's too overwhelming, it's too hopeless.
But Rich Stearns, president of the Christian humanitarian aid organization World Vision, is able to see hope. In Zambia and other countries, volunteers and staff visit orphans and families to offer physical, emotional, and spiritual support. According to the United Nations, a child is orphaned by AIDS every 15 seconds. There are glimpses of hope, but much more work needs to be done.
Welcome back. My first guest is a successful author. He has just finished writing a new book, and he's here to talk about it. It's called Slow Way Home. Please welcome Michael Morris. Michael, it's a pleasure to see you. And first of all, I want to congratulate you on the book that preceded this one called Wiregrass, a place called Wiregrass. Sold over 40,000 copies the first year.
That's what they say.
That's incredible. And it was your first book, wasn't it?
It was. It was my first novel about a woman fleeing an abusive marriage and starts over again in the Dothan area, no doubt. And it's done very well, and I'm excited to be talking about my new novel, Slow Way Home.
I know you are. Well, now, you've just come off of quite a long tour promoting your book and meeting people and book signings and whatever. About how long were you on the tour, and how did it go?
Well, it went well. Thank you for asking, Miss Moore. We stayed on the road straight 5 weeks, and I hit 30 cities all throughout the Southeast, into the Midwest, up to Iowa. And the reception was very favorable because Slow Way Home is about a little boy caught in a custody battle between the grandparents who are raising him and his troubled mother. And when the grandparents lose the custody case, they flee with him and assume new identities in a small fishing town near Pensacola. And I think it went so well on the tour is because so many grandparents nowadays are raising their grandchildren. It's estimated that 2.4 million grandparents are raising grandchildren in the U.S.
You hear an awful lot about it in the national press and whatever, and in personal knowing about it. And I guess it's because the parents are so distracted. Both of them are always working to make expenses the way the world's working today. Yeah, I mean, that's some of the trouble. But in this book, the problems went deeper than that. You were dealing with all sorts of emotions. What really motivated you to write this book?
Well, I got the idea for Slow Way Home when I was in Fort Lauderdale on a business trip, and I passed an RV park with campers stacked on top of one another. And I looked at that and I thought somebody could get lost in that environment. And then this image in my head of an older couple and their grandson came to mind. And I was drawn to that because I had a personal relationship with my grandparents. They were very stable people in my life when my mom and I were fleeing an abusive household. We lived next door to them. So I was drawn to write about this grandparent-grandchild relationship that Brandon Willard, the little boy, experiences in Slow Way Home.
Well, actually, I know the book is a novel. It's fictional in a way, but there's a lot of personal knowledge about the situation within you because of your background.
That's exactly right. And one of the things in the novel that I did draw from on my own personal experiences is the grandmother's support of the little boy, and how she becomes almost a counselor for him. And one of the scenes, if you'll recall, is when the grandmother tells Brandon that she wants him to remember that he has a lot of people who love him, and she'll have him to actually list out those people. Well, my grandmother did the same thing for me. About
what age were you when your parents took you to the grandparents?
I was 5 years old when my mom and I fled an abusive household with my biological father, and my mom and I ended up living next door to my grandparents. So they gave us protection and they gave us stability.
You know, as I say, the book runs a gamut of emotions, I mean, and dire circumstances for a youthful mind who looks to the parents for protection and love and finds only trouble. You had a very troubled mother, and drugs were involved, and an abusive father. It seems to me that this book brings out the fact that families are no longer what we used to know as a family because of the expensive world we live in, and people do different things that they would not ordinarily do. But the grandparents, having the background of knowing reality, came in and really rescued you, did they not?
They did. They rescued both my mother and myself.
Yes.
Because they gave us a place to live next door to them and protected us physically. And much like the grandparents provide stability and protection for Brandon in Slow Way Home. But, you know, my mother was not like Sophie Willard in the book, so I was fortunate that she wasn't a drug addict or anything of that nature like his mother is. But I did have problems with my biological father, and we were fortunate to flee and end up with my grandparents, who provided us a safe environment. And, you know, they gave me gifts as a child that I still carry with me today as an adult. And I just hope to show some of these gifts in Slow Way Home, which I'm glad to say at the end of the book, people will read this book and say, thank you, grandparents, for the gifts that you give grandchildren, because it is upbeat and an inspiring book.
That must be a rewarding feeling. Yes, it has to be. Well, you know, one of the things that impressed me, that created a picture in my mind, was how the fear you must have experienced when you realized your parents were not going to get on that bus with you, and that they were going one way and you were going the other.
Yeah, I think that was a fear Brandon had, and Brandon, the character in the book, had a tendency to kind of withdraw during those times when he needed to protect himself, and I think that's a tactic children who are in abusive situations all across the country feel.
Well, tell me this, is there another book in Michael Morris?
Absolutely. I'm working on one set in our area. It's about an 83-year-old sheriff who's just lost his seat after serving longer than any other sheriff in the state. And he gets in a series of car accidents and loses his license and goes to assisted living, but he rebels. He runs away and assumes new identity in Central Florida.
Well, we look forward to hearing from you on that one. And best of luck on this one. If it goes as well as the first one, you're in business.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to see you.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, Michael. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. Well, Judy Freeman is here, and she's brought 3 famous colors with her today: yellow, green, and purple. Guess what? It's a hello to Mardi Gras. It's not that far away.
It's not that far away, and people will start having birthday cakes this time of year.
Yeah.
They want these colors. You get into the 1st of February, and they start asking for these colors.
It's called theme cakes.
It's called theme cakes. And we're just going to do the cutest thing. I started doing this yesterday just by, I don't know why, I started rolling this pretty fondant in spirals, and look what happens.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Isn't that pretty? So what I did was I made my colors of, this is fondant, and it is spelled F-O-N-D-A-N-T.
Fondant.
Fondant.
Yes.
People call it fondue.
Oh, do they?
Yes, they do. They want some of that fondue. Well, it's not fondue. It's fondant. When we do fondue, it's kind of cheesy. But this is fondant. And we have a recipe. We can make it ourselves, or some stores do sell this.
Oh, do they? In certain colors?
No, it's all white.
No, it's all white, I
It's
thought.
all white or chocolate.
And you have to put the color to
Right.
it. But
And
you know, it's strong.
It is very
like Play-Doh.
strong. It is very strong. And in our pink display cake that we have a bright pink bow on top. And probably we'll put our bottom border. This whole cake is made out of fondant. It has the whole icing fondant.
Yeah.
This is buttercream. This is
Oh, is
not
it?
fondant. The one we're going to finish today is not fondant.
Well, it's obvious it's much thinner
It is.
than the fondant.
It is, and fondant always has a glazed, almost ceramic look to it.
Exactly.
So what we're going to do today is let's just finish off the bottom of our cake, and we'll work ourselves toward the top.
Well,
And
you know, that would make a beautiful tribute to Mardi Gras when you have a birthday in February.
It
yes.
is. Or some of our Mardi Gras parties, now we're already taking orders for our balls and our Mardi Gras.
Really?
Oh, yeah. People know they need to get that done in advance. So what we're going to do is we're just going to ease around here and finish this cake off. And after we do that, we will put that pretty bow right on top, and I'll show you how all this pile of who knows what it is turns out to be a beautiful bow just like our pink one. Now what I'll do is I will take some of this purple icing and I'm just going to mush it on top. The reason I did the purple is that our bow is purple, and so if you see icing coming through, it'll all be the same color. Now what I'll do is I will take this and I will put it down into the cake. These are my bow tails. Put them down in here.
This is so substantive. I can't get over it after it dries out a bit.
It is. Well, this you would not eat this. You would not eat this
No, I know
bow.
that, but I mean it turns
Holds
into...
up beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then we'll just start laying our bow pieces together. Look how that just starts becoming a bow. Isn't that pretty?
Oh, it is pretty.
Now on our wedding cakes, this bow on top, typically in white, is real popular. Really popular. It's today's kind of look. And see, we have just put a bow together just like that.
Oh, my goodness.
And then we'll just kind of push it together. And look at our bow. Well, I actually got to have a little bit more icing right in there. Our icing kind of makes it stick together. Let's put a little bit more right in there. Now, see how pretty that is?
It's beautiful.
And, of course, if I had a little bit more time, I would adjust it and make it really show up good. Now, isn't that pretty?
It is pretty. You know, I was thinking, too, you've used 2 colors so far, and that says Mardi Gras there, or you could add other colors.
You could. You could. See, this pink, I have
What's
all
that you have? Oh, let the good times roll.
It's like
Let's
a
see if
gift
the camera can
package.
see that. I doubt it. Yeah, let the good times roll.
And we will put this on our cake just like that. And if you were having a little Mardi Gras party, that would just be too cool, wouldn't it?
Sure
it would be so nice.
I noticed you rolled this out.
I have. And I just took a little piece of my dough and I rolled it out and I dampened it just a little bit. Now what we're going to do, look, we're going to lay this on top of each other, just like this. And we're going to kind of cut it in two, because if we roll that, that would be that big around.
Oh.
So what we're going to do is take this. Now look how neat it starts becoming. Watch.
Oh, that's the way you get those
That's
three
the
little
way
circles.
you get them. That's the way you get them. Look it up right here. And then we'll just kind of mush it together a little bit like that, and watch what happens. Look what happens. Look how pretty that is.
It is beautiful.
Isn't that pretty?
Yes.
And we would cut it now. If we wanted to, we could take this and reverse that and get us another kind of look going right in here. We could roll it. Well, we're still going to have the yellow on the outside. I didn't mean for that to happen. But look how pretty. Look how pretty. Now, all we would have to do is to cut multiple circles of these out. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. All we would do is...
We've got about 30 seconds.
Oh,
here.
okay. But see, if we had bunches and bunches of these, all we would do is stick them right there. We'd stick them on the side.
Well, that's all you need.
It is. Doesn't it kind of look like the confetti they throw off the... confetti that they throw?
Have to put some glue on there.
I have to put some glue right there.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You are so
welcome. I think that would make the party more fun than ever.
Fun.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you, Doc.
see you along the way. Stay with us. We have more. Well, for many of us, ringing in the new year means resolving to deal with the debt we incurred during the holidays. Reporter Lee Miller has some ideas on this.
I'm buying that.
Not long after Pam and Alan Angel got married, they felt as if they had a monopoly on money troubles. Their combined debt from family medical problems and an earlier divorce totaled $65,000. The stress was intense for the whole family. But rather than filing for bankruptcy, the Angels, like millions of others, turned to a debt consolidation company to help pay off their creditors and start over.
We wanted to get it all under control and just kind of have the peace of mind that we weren't responsible for making those payments every single month.
The Angels made monthly payments to a seemingly trustworthy company that promised to notify their creditors, negotiate lower rates, and disperse payments for them. A few months into the program, they started receiving harassing calls from creditors and noticed problems on their statements.
We started getting calls constantly from the creditors, wondering why they weren't getting paid or why they weren't getting paid enough.
After repeated calls to the Debt Consolidation Service, the Angels discovered the company had gone bankrupt and disappeared with their money. They were left with more debt, skyrocketing interest rates, and negative information on their credit report. With personal debt at record levels, the lesson for consumers: do your homework.
Before choosing debt consolidation, a consumer should consider all the options. This is an effective way to consolidate your debts and get help. However, a consumer should be very careful when choosing to accomplish debt consolidation and should very thoroughly check the company out before signing up.
The ABA also is providing an online resource, abalawinfo.org, for consumers dealing with credit or bankruptcy issues. For now, the Angels have taken their financial matters into their own hands while they try to get their money back.
You know, I look back on that and think, it sounded too good to be true, and it turns out it was.
This is Lee Miller reporting.
Thank you for joining.